Hey guys, tonight we slip into the dusty, starlit world of ancient Sumer, where the air smells of warm earth and wool, and the night hums with the soft bleating of sheep. Picture yourself trudging across a Mesopotamian plain, the Tigris River glinting faintly under a crescent moon. You're heading to a reed hut, its walls woven tight against the cool desert breeze. The Sumerians, those clever folks who kicked off civilization around 3000 BCE, had a knack for turning the mundane, like counting sheep, into something almost sacred. But let's be real, you probably wouldn't survive a single night in their world, with no Wi-Fi and scorpions scuttling underfoot. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop a comment with your city and local time. I'm curious where you're drifting off from tonight. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You step into the hut, your sandals crunching on the packed dirt floor. The air inside is heavy with the scent of dried reeds, and a faint whiff of sesame oil from a flickering clay lamp. You're in Sumer, one of the world's first urban societies, nestled between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. This is the cradle of writing, mathematics, and believe it or not, some of the earliest tricks for falling asleep. The Sumerians didn't have smartphones to doom scroll, but they had their own nightly struggles. Their solution? Sheep. Not just for wool or meat, but as a rhythmic, almost hypnotic part of their bedtime routine. You plop onto a straw mat, the kind a Sumerian farmer might have used, and feel the day's heat fading from your skin. Outside, the stars are impossibly bright. No light pollution to dull their shine. The Sumerians looked up at those same stars, naming constellations we still recognize, like Taurus. That's a mainstream fact. Their star charts, etched on clay tablets, are some of the oldest astronomical records, dating back to at least 2500 BCE. But here's the quirky bit. Some Sumerian farmers swore that sheep could talk to the stars. Not literally, of course, but they believed the animals' bleats carried messages to the gods, especially at night. If a ewe bleated 3 times under a full moon, it was a sign Enlil, the storm god, was pleased. You try listening for it, but all you hear is a distant dog barking, "Guess the gods aren't chatting tonight." Historians still argue whether these beliefs were widespread or just village folklore, but it's clear the Sumerians wove their flocks into their spiritual and practical lives. You pull a rough wool blanket over your shoulders, its weight oddly comforting. The hut's walls creak as the wind picks up, and you imagine a Sumerian family nearby, whispering about their day's work. They're not so different from you, both chasing a good night's sleep in a world that feels just a little too big. You settle deeper into the mat, the lamp's flame dancing shadows across the reeds. The night is young, and the sheep are waiting. You're out in the open now, the Sumerian night wrapping around you like a cool, dark cloak. The stars above glitter like scattered sesame seeds, and the faint bleating of sheep pulls you toward a dusty pasture just beyond the village. You're a herder tonight, barefoot on the soft earth, guiding a small flock across the Mesopotamian plain. The Sumerians, those early masters of order, didn't just raise sheep for wool or stew. They saw them as keys to a restful night. The rhythm of their hooves, the soft thud-thud as they shuffle along, feels like a heartbeat you can lean into. You're not alone. Every Sumerian village relied on flocks, and herders like you were the unsung heroes of their sleep rituals. Around 3000 BCE, Sumerians domesticated sheep en masse, a mainstream fact etched into archaeological records from Uruk's animal pens. Their wool fueled trade, but their presence soothed souls. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some herders claim certain sheep had sleepy eyes, marked by droopy lids, and swore these animals could lull you into dreams just by staring. You squint at a nearby ewe, half expecting her to wink you into a nap, but she just chews cud like she's judging your life choices. Historians still argue whether this was superstition or a practical observation. Maybe those droopy-eyed sheep were just old and tired. Either way, you're learning the ropes. You nudge the flock toward a grazing patch, the air thick with the scent of wild barley and sheep musk. The Sumerians believed herding at dusk calmed both man and beast, a ritual to wind down the day. You try it, mimicking their slow pace, counting each step to keep your mind from racing. 1, 2, 3. It's monotonous, sure, but there's a strange peace in it. You pause by a low fence of reeds, watching the sheep settle. Their wool catches the moonlight, turning them into soft, glowing shapes. You imagine a Sumerian herder whispering to his flock, maybe naming them Ba-Arbabara, anyone? The joke lands flat in the quiet. But it's fine, the night doesn't need your comedy. The village hums faintly behind you, clay ovens cooling, families murmuring. You're starting to get why this worked for them. The repetitive motion, the predictable bleats, it's like nature's white noise machine. You lean against a wooden staff, its tip worn smooth by countless herders before you. The ground is cool underfoot, and the breeze carries a hint of river water. You're not just herding sheep, you're herding your own thoughts toward rest. The flock circles back, and you follow, already feeling heavier, like your eyelids are borrowing a trick from that sleepy-eyed ewe. You're crouched in a dim Sumerian workshop now, the air thick with the earthy smell of wet clay. Your hands press into a soft tablet, cool and slick, as you carve wedge-shaped marks with a reed stylus. You're a scribe tonight, tasked with tracking the village's sheep, but this isn't just bookkeeping, it's a step toward sleep. The Sumerians, around 3000 BCE, invented cuneiform, one of the world's first writing systems. A mainstream fact confirmed by thousands of tablets unearthed from sites like Ur. These records tracked everything: grain, beer, and yes, sheep. Each wedge you etch represents a ewe or ram, a tally to ensure the flock's safe for the night. The act is repetitive, almost meditative, and you feel your shoulders loosen as you work. Here's the quirky bit. Some scribes believed the act of writing itself could trap restless thoughts, locking them onto clay so your mind could rest. You try it, scratching numbers 10 sheep, 20, 30, hoping your own worries get stuck in the tablet too. It's a stretch, but there's a rhythm to it, like counting breaths. Historians still argue whether scribes saw this as a spiritual practice or just practical record-keeping. But the focus required feels like a lullaby for your brain. You pause, wiping sweat from your brow, and notice the lamp's flicker casting shadows like tiny sheep across the wall. It's almost cute, until you realize you've miscounted and have to start over. Classic Sumerian scribe problems, right? The workshop is quiet, save for the soft scrape of your stylus and a distant owl hooting. You imagine a Sumerian family relying on your tally to know their wealth and their sleep is secure. Each mark grounds you, tying you to the flock, grazing under the stars you saw earlier. Remember those sleepy-eyed ewes? You smirk, picturing one bleating at your sloppy cuneiform. The clay smells faintly of river mud, and your fingers ache. But there's a strange calm in the monotony. You finish a row, lean back, and stretch. The tablet's done, the sheep accounted for. Your eyelids droop as the night deepens, and the village outside hums with the same quiet rhythm you're carving into clay. You're standing in the cool shadow of a Sumerian temple, its mud brick walls rising like a staircase to the stars. The air hums with the low, rhythmic chants of priests, their voices weaving through the night like a soft blanket. You're here to listen, maybe even join in, as they sing hymns to Enlil, the Sumerian storm god, believed to guard the night's peace. These chants, a mainstream fact, were recorded on clay tablets from around 2500 BCE, found in temple archives at Nippur. The Sumerians saw their gods as sleepless watchers, and these songs were meant to soothe both divine and human minds, easing everyone into rest. You sway slightly, caught in the melody's gentle pulse, feeling the day's weight slip off your shoulders. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some priests claim certain hymns could make sheep sleep faster, as if the flock tuned into Enlil's vibes. You glance at a nearby pen, half expecting to see dozing ewes, but they're just chewing grass. Unimpressed. Historians still argue whether these chants were purely religious or doubled as a practical sleep aid for herders nearby. You step closer to the temple's entrance, the air thick with incense myrrh, maybe sharp and woody. The priests' voices rise and fall, a slow cadence like waves on the Euphrates. You imagine lying on a reed mat, letting the sound wash over you, drowning out thoughts of tomorrow's chores. It's not exactly Spotify's chill hits, but it's doing the trick. You lean against a brick wall, cool against your back, and notice the faint glow of oil lamps inside. The priests don't stop, their words looping like a lullaby. You try humming along, butchering the ancient Sumerian, and chuckle, good thing Enlil's not grading your pitch. The temple's presence, massive and steady, feels like an anchor in the night. You think back to those clay tablets you scratched earlier, counting sheep for the village. This feels connected, like the hymns are blessing the flock you tallied. The stars above wink, and you wonder if Enlil's listening. Your eyelids grow heavy, the chants blending with the distant bleat of a sheep, pulling you closer to sleep. You're back in the open now, the Sumerian night stretching wide and cool around you. The moon hangs low, a silver crescent casting soft light over a sprawling pasture. You're a herder again, guiding your flock along a well-worn path, the earth packed hard by countless hooves before yours. The sheep shuffle ahead, their wool glowing faintly, like clouds drifting across the dark. The Sumerians, around 3000 BCE, mastered pastoral routes, a mainstream fact backed by archaeological finds of ancient enclosures near Lagash. These paths weren't just for grazing, they were nighttime rituals, moving flocks under moonlight to calm both animals and herders. You feel it now, the steady rhythm of their steps syncing with your breath, pulling you into a quiet trance. Here's the quirky bit. Some herders believe the moon's phases changed how sheep walked, claiming a full moon made them lazier, perfect for sleepy strolls. You glance up, but tonight's crescent isn't helping. Your lead ram keeps veering toward a thorn bush. Historians still argue whether this lunar talk was practical observation or just poetic superstition. You nudge the ram back, your staff tapping the ground like a metronome. The air smells of dust and wild herbs, maybe dill or coriander, crushed underfoot. You imagine a Sumerian herder chuckling at your clumsy technique, probably muttering, "City folk, am I right?" The thought makes you grin as you steer the flock toward a shallow dip in the land. The path curves near a canal, its water glinting like liquid silver. You pause, letting the sheep graze, their soft munching a soothing backdrop. You're starting to get why these nighttime treks mattered. It's not just about moving animals, it's about moving your mind to a quieter place. You recall those temple chants from earlier, their rhythm echoing in the sheep's slow steps. The stars overhead feel closer now, like they're watching your little parade. You yawn, the cool air brushing your face, and wonder if you'll dream of moonlit sheep. The flock circles back, and you follow, your steps slower, heavier, as the night whispers you toward rest. You're in a small Sumerian courtyard now, the night air thick with the scent of crushed herbs and warm clay. You're crouched by a low table, your hands grinding dried leaves with a stone pestle, the faint grit scraping under your fingers. The Sumerians around 2500 BCE were early pioneers of herbal remedies. A mainstream fact gleaned from cuneiform tablets listing plants like fennel and licorice used in medicine. Tonight you're mixing a sleep potion, a blend meant to hush a restless mind. The process is slow, deliberate, each motion pulling you deeper into the quiet of the moment. The stars above peek through the open roof, and a distant sheep bleats, tying you back to the flocks you've been herding. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some Sumerians swore that adding a pinch of sheep's wool to their brews made them dream of meadows. You eye a tuft of wool nearby, half tempted to try it, but decide against drinking fuzzy tea sounds like a choking hazard, even for ancient standards. Historians still argue whether these woolly additives were symbolic or just desperate placebo attempts. You sprinkle in some dill instead, its sharp scent tickling your nose. The mixture simmers in a clay pot over a small fire, the steam curling like a lazy ghost. You imagine a Sumerian healer whispering, "This'll knock you out faster than a tax collector's visit." You smirk, stirring slowly, the fire's glow warming your face. The courtyard is still, save for the soft crackle of flames and a faint breeze rustling palm fronds. You pour the potion into a chipped cup, its warmth seeping into your palms. The recipe's simple: herbs, water, a touch of honey, but it feels like a ritual, something sacred. You think back to those moonlit pastures, the sheep's rhythmic steps. This potion feels like their liquid cousin, another trick to ease you into sleep. You take a sip, the taste earthy and slightly sweet, and feel your shoulders sag. The village around you hums faintly, someone's strumming a lyre, maybe practicing for those temple chants you heard earlier. Your eyelids droop as you set the cup down, the night wrapping you in its gentle haze. You're sitting cross-legged on a woven reed mat, the Sumerian night soft and heavy around you. The air carries the faint musk of sheep from a nearby pen, mingling with the dusty scent of baked earth. You're learning a counting ritual tonight, one the Sumerians used to quiet their minds before sleep. Around 3000 BCE, they developed a base 60 number system, a mainstream fact that shaped their math and survives in our 60-second minutes. This ritual isn't just about numbers, it's a chant, a repetitive murmur to lull your brain into calm. You start counting sheep not in your head but out loud, your voice low and steady. 1 ewe, 2 rams, 3 lambs. The words feel like pebbles dropping into a still pond, each one rippling you closer to rest. Here's the quirky bit. Some Sumerians believed chanting numbers in sets of 60 could summon dreams of Inanna, the goddess of love and war. You try it, hitting 60 and waiting for a divine PowerPoint presentation. But all you get is a cricket chirping nearby. Guess Inanna's busy tonight. Historians still argue whether these chants were spiritual or just a practical way to focus a wandering mind. You keep going, your voice blending with the night's hum, the rhythm almost hypnotic. The sheep in the pen shuffle, their hooves tapping softly, as if they're counting along. You imagine a Sumerian elder chuckling, "Keep counting, kid, or you'll be up till the roosters crow." The jokes on you roosters won't exist here for another millennium. The mat beneath you is scratchy but grounding, and the stars above seem to pulse with your chant. You think back to those clay tablets you scratched, each wedge a sheep counted for the village. This feels like their echo, turning numbers into a sleepy melody. Your words slow 47-48, and your eyelids grow heavy. The night air brushes your face, cool and dry, carrying a hint of river water. You're not just counting sheep, you're weaving yourself into the Sumerian night, each number a step toward dreams. You're out in the Sumerian night again, the cool air brushing your skin as you stand in a quiet pasture. The sheep are scattered around you, their woolly shapes barely visible under the faint glow of a crescent moon. You're a herder tonight, but not just trudging along, you're learning the subtle signals. Sumerian shepherds used to manage their flocks after dark. Around 3000 BCE, Sumerians developed complex herding systems, a mainstream fact backed by cuneiform records from Ur detailing livestock management. These signals, whistles, clicks, and soft calls kept the sheep moving without startling them. A nighttime dance to ensure everyone, human and animal, stayed calm. You try a low whistle, mimicking the herders, and a few sheep perk up, then ignore you. Clearly, you're no sheep whisperer yet. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some herders believed a specific 3-note whistle could make sheep dream walk, moving them in a trance-like state to new grazing spots. You give it a go, puffing out a shaky tune, but the flock just stares, probably thinking, "Stick to your day job, pal." Historians still argue whether this was a real technique or just folklore passed around campfires. You adjust your grip on the staff, its wood worn smooth, and try a soft click instead. A ewe nudges forward, and you feel a small victory. The night is quiet, save for the rustle of grass and the occasional bleat, each sound blending into a soothing rhythm. You think back to those counting chants you practiced, their cadence echoing in these signals. The pasture smells of dew and wild thyme, and the stars above feel like a map you could follow forever. You guide the flock slowly, your steps deliberate, matching their pace. The air's coolness seeps into your bones, and you imagine a Sumerian herder grinning at your clumsy efforts. Maybe he'd toss you a reed flute to practice with. The joke's on you, you'd probably play it like a kazoo. The sheep circle back, and you move with them, your mind settling into the quiet code of the night, each signal pulling you closer to sleep. You're sprawled on a straw mat at the base of a towering ziggurat, its mud brick steps looming against the Sumerian night sky. The air is cool, scented with dust and the faint tang of tamarisk trees nearby. You're resting here, just a stone's throw from the village, letting the ziggurat's massive presence anchor you. The Sumerians built these step temples around 2500 BCE, a mainstream fact confirmed by excavations at Ur and Eridu, where ziggurats served as sacred hubs linking Earth to the gods. Tonight, though, it's just you, the stars, and the distant bleating of sheep, their sounds weaving into the quiet like a familiar lullaby. You're not climbing the ziggurat that's for priests, but its shadow feels like a blanket, urging you to relax. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some Sumerians believed sleeping near a ziggurat could spark dreams of divine messages, as if the gods left voicemails in your head. You close your eyes, half hoping for a cosmic text from Enlil, but all you get is a mosquito buzzing your ear. Divine prank, maybe? Historians still argue whether these beliefs shaped where people chose to sleep or were just temple propaganda. You shift on the mat, the straw poking through your tunic, and imagine a Sumerian villager snoozing here, dreaming of sheep or storms. The ziggurat's silhouette looms, its edges softened by moonlight, and you feel small but oddly safe. You recall those nighttime herding signals you tried, their soft clicks echoing in your mind like a distant memory. The night is still, save for a gentle breeze rustling the reeds. You trace a constellation with your eyes, maybe one the Sumerians named, and wonder if they, too, lay here counting stars to drift off. A sheep bleats nearby, and you smirk probably Abebara, judging your stargazing skills. The ziggurat's presence is steady, grounding, like a giant reminding you to let go of the day. Your breathing slows, the mat's scratchy comfort pulling you deeper into the night's embrace. You're in the heart of a Sumerian village now, the night air buzzing with the faint hum of activity. You're a trader tonight, standing by a stall piled high with wool, its soft earthy scent mixing with the tang of dried dates nearby. The Sumerians, around 3000 BCE, built a thriving economy on sheep products, a mainstream fact backed by cuneiform ledgers from Uruk, showing wool as a key trade good. It wasn't just about blankets or tunics. Wool was currency, status, and a link to the sleepy rituals you've been exploring. You run your fingers over a bale, its fibers coarse but warm, and imagine how it ties to the flocks you herded under moonlight. This wool, spun from those sheep, is why the village sleeps soundly, wrapped in its wealth. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some traders claim certain wool colors dyed with madder root could ward off nightmares. You eye a reddish bundle, tempted to haggle for a dream-proof blanket, but decide not to bet your sleep on ancient sales pitches. Historians still argue whether these claims were marketing ploys or genuine beliefs tied to Sumerian magic. You barter with a merchant, swapping a clay token for a small wool sack, your voice low to match the night's calm. The market's quieter now, but you hear whispers of deals and the soft clink of barley sacks. You grin, imagining a trader boasting, "My wool's so cozy, you'll sleep through a sandstorm." The joke's half true. The weight of wool does feel like a hug from the night. You sling the sack over your shoulder, its heft grounding you as you wander past mud brick homes. The stars above gleam, and you recall the ziggurat's shadow from earlier, its quiet strength. This wool connects it all: sheep, herders, scribes, and now you, trading for a piece of Sumerian sleep. The village hums softly, a lyre strumming somewhere, and your steps slow. You're not just carrying wool, you're carrying the promise of rest, woven into every fiber. You're lying on a reed mat under a vast Sumerian sky, the stars twinkling like 1,000 tiny lamps. The air is cool, scented with river mud and the faint musk of sheep grazing nearby. You're not herding or trading tonight. You're pondering the Sumerian gods, whose stories tied the heavens to sleep itself. Around 2500 BCE, Sumerians worshipped deities like Nana, the moon god, who was believed to guide dreams, a mainstream fact etched into hymns found on tablets from Ur. These gods weren't just sky dwellers. They were thought to sprinkle rest over the world, their starlight a cosmic lullaby. You gaze up, tracing constellations, and feel your breath slow, as if Nana's watching you personally. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some Sumerians swore that sleeping under certain stars, like those in the Scorpion constellation, could make you dream of sheep migrations. You squint at the sky, hoping for a woolly vision, but all you see is a shooting star, probably Nana saying, "Nice try, dreamer." Historians still argue whether these starry beliefs shaped Sumerian bedtime habits, or were just poetic myths. You shift on the mat, the reeds creaking softly, and imagine a priest pointing out stars to a sleepy village, linking each one to a god's promise of rest. It's a soothing thought, like those counting chants you murmured earlier, each number a star in your mind. The night feels alive, the air brushing your face with a hint of tamarisk. You recall the wool sack you traded for, its weight a reminder of the flocks tied to these myths. A sheep bleats nearby, and you chuckle maybe it's praying to Nana too. The stars seem to pulse, their light steady and slow, like a heartbeat you can lean into. Your eyelids grow heavy, the mat's roughness fading as the god stories wrap you in a gentle haze, pulling you closer to sleep. You're wandering through a Sumerian night market now, the air warm with the scent of roasted barley and sesame oil. Stalls line the narrow street, their wares lit by flickering clay lamps, baskets of herbs, jars of honey, and bundles of wool stacked high. You're here to listen, catching whispers of sleep remedies traded like secrets among the crowd. The Sumerians around 3000 BCE were avid traders of medicinal goods, a mainstream fact backed by cuneiform records from Girsu detailing herb and potion exchanges. These markets weren't just for food or goods, they were hubs for gossip about how to chase a good night's sleep. You pause by a stall, your sandals scuffing the dirt, and lean in to hear a vendor's soft pitch about a dream-inducing brew. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some market healers claimed chewing licorice root before bed could make you dream of rivers, soothing even the most restless. You snag a piece to try, its sharp tang biting your tongue, but no river visions yet, just a vague urge to brush your teeth. Historians still argue whether these remedies were based on real effects or just clever sales tactics. You smile, imagining a vendor winking. This route's better than counting sheep, trust me. The market hums with low voices, a soft clatter of clay pots, and the occasional bleat from a pen nearby. You think back to that herbal potion you mixed, its earthy warmth still lingering in your memory. You drift past another stall, where a woman offers tiny amulets said to ward off sleepless nights. The crowd's murmurs blend into a gentle drone, like the river's hum you'll hear later. The wool sacks catch your eye, tying you to the flocks and starry myths you've been chasing. Your steps slow, the market's rhythm wrapping you in a cozy haze. You yawn, the licorice root still in hand, and feel the night nudging you toward rest. You're stretched out on a soft bank beside the Euphrates, the river's gentle gurgle filling the Sumerian night. The air is cool, laced with the scent of wet reeds and distant sheep, their faint bleats drifting like a memory. You're here to nap, letting the water's steady flow lull you into a half-dream state. The Sumerians around 3000 BCE revered their rivers as lifeblood, a mainstream fact clear from cuneiform hymns, praising the Tigris and Euphrates for nourishing crops and calming minds. This spot where the river bends lazily feels like a natural cradle, its rhythm a perfect sleep aid for a weary villager. You sink into the grass, its dampness soaking through your tunic, and let the sound wash over you, steady as a heartbeat. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some Sumerians believed sleeping by the river let you borrow dreams from the water god, Enki, who supposedly whispered secrets through the current. You close your eyes, half expecting Enki to spill some divine gossip, but all you get is a frog croaking nearby. Guess the god's on mute tonight. Historians still argue whether these river naps were spiritual rituals or just practical ways to escape the village's noise. You shift, the grass tickling your neck, and imagine a Sumerian fisherman dozing here, his net forgotten. The river's hum feels familiar, like those temple chants you heard, their cadence echoing in the water's flow. You smirk, picturing yourself snoring loud enough to scare the fish. Good thing Enki's not judging. The stars reflect faintly on the water, tiny glimmers that remind you of the starry myths you pondered earlier. The wool sack you traded for is nearby, its weight a quiet link to the flocks you've been following. The night is soft, the river's song wrapping you tighter, and your breathing slows. Each ripple seems to carry away a thought, leaving your mind as calm as the current pulling you towards sleep. You're back in the dim Sumerian workshop, the air heavy with the scent of damp clay and sesame oil. You're a scribe again, hunched over a fresh tablet, your reed stylus scratching out sheep tallies under the flicker of a clay lamp. The Sumerians, around 3000 BCE, used these tablets to track livestock with meticulous care, a mainstream fact confirmed by thousands of cuneiform records from sites like Uruk. But tonight, this isn't just accounting, it's a sleepy ritual. Each wedge-shaped mark pulling your mind toward rest. Your fingers move slowly, etching numbers 10 U's, 5 rams as the repetitive motion lulls you, like counting stars or river ripples. The tablet feels cool, grounding, and you sense the village's quiet pulse beyond the walls. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some scribes believe tallying sheep at night could seal your dreams, keeping nightmares at bay. You pause, wondering if your shaky cuneiform is warding off anything. But the worst you'll dream of is miscounting a flock. Historians still argue whether this was a spiritual practice or just a way to stay focused while half asleep. You smirk, imagining a Sumerian boss muttering, "Keep those wedges straight, or you'll dream of angry rams." The lamp's flame dances, casting shadows like tiny sheep across the wall, and you lean into the rhythm scratch, press, repeat. It's monotonous, sure, but there's a strange calm in it, like those herding signals you practiced under the moon. You think back to the river's hum, its soothing flow tying you to this moment. The wool sack you traded for sits in the corner, a reminder of the flocks you've counted. The workshop is still, save for the soft scrape of your stylus and a distant dog's bark. Your eyelids droop as you finish another row, the tablet's weight mirroring your own. The night feels softer now, each mark a step closer to dreams, as if the clay itself is whispering you to sleep. You're waking slowly now, the Sumerian dawn creeping over the horizon like a soft whisper. The air is cool, tinged with the scent of dew-soaked reeds and the faint musk of sheep stirring in their pens. You're lying on a straw mat near the village's edge, the Euphrates murmuring faintly in the distance. The Sumerians, around 3000 BCE, saw dawn as a sacred transition, a mainstream fact reflected in cuneiform hymns from Nippur that praised Utu, the sun god, for renewing the world each morning. You're not praying to Utu, but you feel the gentle shift from night to day, your body heavy from the journey through Sumerian sleep rituals. The stars are fading, their light giving way to a pale pink sky, and you're reflecting on the secrets you've uncovered herding, chanting, tallying, all woven into the art of rest. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some Sumerians believe the first dawn bleat of a sheep carried a blessing for a peaceful day. You listen, catching a faint baa from the pasture, and smile. Maybe it's Ba Arbara wishing you luck. Historians still argue whether these beliefs shaped morning routines or were just hopeful folklore. You stretch, the mat creaking beneath you, and think back to the wool sack, the river's hum, the ziggurat's shadow. Each moment feels like a thread in a tapestry, connecting you to a people who turned sheep and stars into a recipe for sleep. You chuckle softly, imagining a Sumerian elder saying, "You survived the night, don't expect a medal." The village stirs, a soft clatter of pots and voices rising, but you're in no rush to join them. As the dawn light softens, your breathing slows, each inhale drawing in the calm of this ancient world. The sheep's distant bleats fade, blending with the river's gentle flow, a sound as steady as a lullaby. You're no longer counting, no longer herding or scribbling on clay. The stars have tucked themselves away, and the ziggurat stands quiet, its shadow long and cool. Your mat feels softer now, the straw molding to your form, as if the earth itself is cradling you. The Sumerians knew this feeling, this gentle drift where thoughts unravel, where the day's weight lifts like mist off the Euphrates. Let your eyelids rest, heavy as river stones, and let the village's hum become a distant song. You're safe here, wrapped in the warmth of a world long gone, its secrets now yours. Sleep comes softly, a quiet gift from the night, carrying you into dreams as gentle as a sheep's sigh.